chillTV, Don Lehn, and Fraser Valley News and chillTV's News of the Week. And we're joined by Stala Grand Chief Clarence Pennier. To say that this has been an emotional week is an understatement. When you first heard confirmation, because there have been years and years of rumors, especially with Kamloops, when you first heard that it's confirmed, there are 215 bodies there, were you feeling anger or vindication, or what was going through your mind?
Well, I wasn't feeling anger because it just became sort of fact for me, because I spent 10 years in St. Mary's in Mission, and I did spend 1 year in Kamloops, where all the children were found. And part of my experience is I have vivid memories of being taken on the back of a cattle truck at 6 years old. I was still 6, out of the Sardis hop yards, you know, the ones that were by Evans Road down that way. So taken in, like I said, on a cattle truck, and spent 10 years in St. Mary's. It was an interesting time because even though I had all of my siblings, older siblings, who were there before me, and one of the things that did was separated us. Even though we were in the same institution, we couldn't really associate with them at all, because I had one brother who was just 1 grade above me, but I could never really talk to him, and the other one's older brothers were there as well, and I couldn't talk to them either. And sisters were on the other dorm, as we mentioned it, and we couldn't talk to them either. So, and just a few years after that, my younger sister came back to school, and I couldn't associate with her. And my youngest brother finally got to the residential school, and I couldn't talk to him either. And the interesting thing about my youngest brother, I got there in September of 1951, and I was still 6. I turned 7 on October 2nd. And I didn't know that he was born. He was born on my birthday, so he was exactly 7 years younger than me, but they couldn't tell us the news. And a month and a half later, my father was killed in a logging accident, and they wouldn't let us know either. So, you know, we couldn't go home and do the grieving process with him, for him. So that's part of the things that happen in residential schools. You don't really have any notices going home or coming to the school to you.
With what has come out now over the last few days, are you hearing from other members in Stalo or Chiam or Seabird Island that maybe now there will be some form of, I don't know how to put it, just, you know, progress in relations? A lot of people have their concerns with truth and reconciliation, and I was, like many media, I was under the impression that TRC was involved in this search in Kamloops, but as I understand now, it was actually done by the Kamloops band themselves. It was funded by them.
Yeah, that's right. They did it themselves, and I guess they must have applied for some kind of a grant to help them do it, and it probably didn't pay for the whole thing, so they would have had to pay from whatever grant they received, pay on top. So, and like I said, there are going to be other findings, and there will be some in St. Mary's. Because that's stories are there, and I just heard one bit of a story, and it's too bad that the person who told the story is gone on to the other side, and he talked about digging some of the, I guess, the graves, so to speak. So, and it affected him quite terribly. That's one of the things that happens at the residential schools. Whatever abuses you go through, whether it's physical abuse, we go through mental abuse because we're there and isolated from our families, and spiritual abuse. We're forced to go to church once a day and twice on Sundays, and sexual abuse happens, and it happened to me a couple of times. So it becomes tough, and our people don't really want to talk about it. After they get out of school, they go home and have children. They can't really talk to the children about it, and because of shame, because it happened, and they really don't want to make their children feel bad about it. So it stays within themselves, and I can say that about my own family. We never really talked about it amongst ourselves after we got out of school. We never really talked to ourselves in particular because we alienated ourselves when we were in there. So we were family in name, but not really getting along all that well. So, like I said, that's some of the things that happened to us.
Chief David Jimmy has also mentioned not only St. Mary's, but a possibility of something being found at Kokalitsa. Have you heard the same?
Yeah, I would imagine there's some that happened at Kokalitsa. I was talking to one of the other ladies and said they have some of them at their community cemetery, so they're unidentified. So, it's going to take a while to be able to identify them because of probably no records to say who it is. So they have to go through the DNA process and take DNA from a heck of a lot of people who went there, or went home, and wherever home is, because in terms of Kokalitsa, I know people locally went, but some came down from Nisga'a territory. I'm not too sure where else they would have came from because it was an Anglican residential school. So, and we were Catholics. That's why we ended up in St. Mary's. We had two different religions.
I would assume Stalo, amongst other nations across the country, are going to have some type of support services, counseling. Has something been set up with Stalo already that you know of?
I think there are already counseling services set up in the tribal councils or Stalo Nation, and they have an Indian Residential School Society. They've been advertising that they have their toll-free lines if you wanted to phone in. But I went through counseling for a couple of years just to be able to sort of get over it, as people say. How do you get over something like that, So it's one of the reasons that I can sit around and talk about some of the things that happened to me, and I know it happens to a lot of other people, but they really don't talk about it unless they go through treatment and counseling as well. So that's why a lot of my brothers and sisters took their stories to the grave.
Stalo Grand Chief Clarence Pennier, you are always welcome here, and I'm sure this is the first of many conversations we will have. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
My relations. And you're watching chillTV's News of the Week.